As Paris is getting set up there, we're about to get some legal interpretation of what just came down from the Supreme Court. And Paris, I mean, this is still kind of up in the air. We're trying to kind of hash through, was the January 6th speech that President Trump made, is that considered an official or unofficial act as president? Yeah,
so this is a 119-page ruling, Natalie and Brian. I don't think anyone can speed read through it that quickly, but I think that's the question, and that's going to be remanded back to lower court. Was that an unofficial act, or was it an official act? Again, this is a 6-3 ruling that says that a president has absolute immunity for all of his or her official acts as president, but does not have immunity for unofficial acts. So if you think about the January 6th case, it's this whole issue of allegedly getting fake electors. It's, you know, long story short, a scheme where Trump allegedly tried to overturn the results of a free and fair election. I think you could make the argument that that is not an official act as president, but I think defense attorneys are going to make the argument that it is. And so I think our next guest is going to have an answer to that question more than I am. We're joined right now by our legal expert, Karem Conti from Conti and Dolan. So first, Karem, what's your initial snap reaction to this 6-3 ruling?
You know, I'm sorry, but I just got out of court myself, and so I'm going to need to read it. And you guys got me on before I was even able to look at it.
All right, Karem. Well, let me give you the breakdown. So 6-3, the president does enjoy immunity for official acts taken as president, but does not have immunity for unofficial acts. So it's kind of splitting it down the middle here. Everything that the president does while they're president, they're going to enjoy immunity. So if someone is assassinated in the course of a war or an official action, there's immunity for that, apparently. But unofficial acts, no immunity. So that's kind of the breakdown.
So the real question is going to be, how are we going to parse what's an official act and an unofficial act? Because this is a very similar type of thing that we deal with in the law when it comes to scope of employment. So if I'm working at a job and I'm doing something in the scope of my employment, my employer can be responsible for it. And so I think this is the same kind of thing. So what if Donald Trump or whoever president is on a trip to France on official business and goes out for a drink and accidentally, you know, injures someone and it's a crime? You know, is he on official business? Yes. Was he acting within the scope and his official duties? I don't know. So who's going to decide this? Who's going to create the parameters of this? Does the jury get to decide it? Is this going to go to a jury trial and the jury is going to have to parse, are these official acts that he's being accused of committing crimes during, or is this going to be unofficial acts? I think this is really creating a whole other subset of litigation.
Well, that's a question. As it relates to the January 6th case, then apparently it's going to be remanded back to a lower court. Where do you think that falls, this sort of alleged scheme to try and overturn the results of an election? Is there an argument to be made on both sides that it was an official act and it wasn't an official act?
I mean, it seems to me that if something's fraudulent, if you're creating a false slate of candidates, for instance, how could that ever be within the scope of your official duties? It just doesn't make any sense, right? What I'm thinking of is you should, as a president, have immunity when you're acting in your job duties and you're doing something that might arguably go over the bounds of the law, and you know you don't want the politics to play in and have the president be prosecuted. I understand that, but I don't understand how something like shooting somebody or committing gross fraud can ever be within the scope of your official acts, because that's not part of being president, right? So I think this is going to create a real problem. I think the judge may have to decide which of these allegations are going to go to a jury because of the immunity. And there's obviously, whoever loses here, there's going to be an appeal.
And if you look at the three, we assume that they're the most conservative justices. I'm sorry, there were 3 dissenting justices, so the liberal justices, I think we would assume dissented to this. The ultimate impact here is the January 6th trial has just been delayed. It's pretty clear we're probably not going to have a trial before the election, and of course we're not going to know the outcome, correct?
I just don't see how that could possibly be, because sorting out what official acts are now is going to be a subset of this litigation. And like I'm saying, I think there are going to be motions to dismiss certain allegations based upon this new ruling. There are going to be briefs, they're going to be argued, and then whoever loses is going to appeal to the federal court. It might even end up before the Supreme Court again on what an official act really is. So I can't see this really going to trial for at least a year, if not more.
And the other case, the Mar-a-Lago documents case, since that is clearly not an official act, he's clearly not president at that point, pretty clear that that case can continue to go on, although there have been a lot of delays in that case.
Agreed, but I think that Trump's lawyers, who are very aggressive, rightly so, will probably make the argument that taking those documents out of the White House were part of his official duty. Watch that happen. It's going to happen. And there's going to have to be litigation about whether or not removing documents from the White House after your presidency is part of an official act. So, Trump is going to use this ruling to try to get rid of all of his criminal allegations.
And this has kind of been a strategy of Trump, both in his post-presidential life and pre-presidential life, of using the courts to kind of delay accountability for a lot of things. All right, Karem Conti, a great snap analysis for not having seen the decision. I know
and
you'll
when
go,
I read it, I'd like to come back and talk about it some more.
Well, we'll have you on later today. Then go take a read, get a nice cup of coffee, and let us know what you think. Karem Conti, thanks again. And we will update you as this story develops throughout the day. And we'll be right back.